Ladies and gentlemen, today we are looking at the Indian version of the AK203 assault rifle built by Kalashnikov concern and the Isapur rifle factory together. Now, if we look at it, we'll find out that in many cases this particular weapon is better than its Russian counterpart or the AK-12, because first of all the buttstock hinges here. There's a proper hook stock like the AK-100 series, which is far better than the Russian version, which really does not fold all the way. This, however, folds completely. Looking back at the front hand guard, we can see that it's very stiff. This thing holds zero, and you can put any type of IR laser or other type of module down here. It would not budge, it would hold zero even in the most adverse conditions. So if anyone wants a PQ15, he can have it, or something of similar pattern, he can have it. The safety has been extended. The safety is very much easy to access. Well, this one's a bit stiff, but it's still very much accessible in the heat of battle. Looking back, we can see that the charging handle is there. It's very smooth, and the muzzle brake is not a pure muzzle brake like the 74M or 100 series. It's actually a combined device with a part muzzle brake, part flash hider. Now the thing with that is that this thing is very much a plausible setup with some type of night vision optical devices, because this helps in reducing the flash. Again, far better than the Russian AK-12 or AK-19 or AK-15 series. If you look at this part, this is the disassembly lever for the dust cover. Now what that does is that this means this part is holding zero whenever you are opening up the gun. Now if anyone is familiar with the AK, they would know that sometimes this part does not hold zero with the standard factory-made AK receivers. However, this is probably the first time I have seen an AK which this thing would definitely hold zero, because it has been very well fit. The fit and finish of the rifle is extremely good.
Greetings everyone, this is Diprosikhar Varman, and today I want to talk about the Kalashnikov concern made AK203 assault rifle, which is currently the main service rifle of the Indian Army. Now, before I talk about both the pros and cons of this particular rifle, I would like to say some words about the history of how the AK203 was chosen. I would also like to delve on why the AK203, both as a gun itself as well as its implementation, is substantially better than the Russian Ratnik program, or how the AK-12 was chosen by the Russian Ministry of Defense for its main armed forces. Now, India's main assault rifle, the INSAS, has never been well liked by the soldiers for various reasons. However, one of the main among them was its reliability. It is not a very good weapon in many ways. Now, when the Indian troops were using INSAS, they were simultaneously also equipped with other rifles, primarily among them many AK variants like the Romanian ones or the Hungarian ones, some East German ones, and even some captured Chinese ones. And the AK in its base form was pretty well liked by the ordinary soldiers of the Indian Army. As far as a military goes, Indian military, especially its army, has had its fair share of great idea fairy, just like the Americans or the Russians or any other armed forces around the world. To replace the incest, India had delved into various programs like the MCIWS or the multi caliber infantry weapon system. These weapons, although good in concept, were not very practical. So, India wanted a typical, easy to produce rifle to replace the aging incest. Now, the AK203 emerged as the victor alongside the American 6716I. However, the role played by these two guns, although they are both built for the same role to be the primary weapon of the infantryman, is quite different, and their roles are really not a substitute of each other in the context of the Indian battlefield or Indian army doctrine per se. Now, regarding AK 203, one chief issue that a lot of people point out that the Indian version of the AK 203 looks substantially different from the Russian version of the AK 203. Before I say about whether which one is better or which one is worse, I must say some words about the lineage of the AK-203 as a rifle itself. Now, AK-203 was formerly the part of the AK-400 series of prototypes developed by Mikhail Kalashnikov when he was almost at his deathbed. It was meant to be an improvement over the AK-100 series, like the AK-103, AK-105, and etc. And the primary concern was an improvement in cost cutting or other expensive reductions, right? But aside from that, there was also a focus on improved reliability as well as accuracy compared to the AK-100 series. From this is where the AK-203 as a rifle emerged. It's actually an offshoot of another program which eventually developed into the AK-12, which is now the standard new assault rifle of the Russian armed forces. However, the Russian AK-203, which was produced solely by Kalashnikov concern, had some really unique features, and it looked more like the modern Russian AK-12 more than the one used by India. Now, AK-12 as a rifle has some really big drawbacks, and they are pretty well known. The Russian version of the AK-203 actually suffers from similar set of drawbacks. Ironically, India and the rifle it chose as the winner, the Indian version of the AK-203, does not suffer from the same issues. This is why I say that the AK-203 is a substantially better weapon than the Russian AK-12. By the way, when I point this out, I would like to say that I am not taking into account the difference of calibers. 5.45 by 39 in my opinion is a better caliber than 7.62 by 39. However, that's a different ball game. I'm talking strictly about the mechanics of the gun. As far as why I think the AK203 of India is better than the Russian AK12 and the AK19, which is the 7.62 by 39 version of the AK12 in itself, are are following, and I would like to show you the video in which I have talked about it while handling the firearm itself. Aside from the stuff I have said in that video, I would like to add some more improvements. For example, the barrel has been a much more accurized barrel. It is still a cold hammer forged chrome lined barrel like your typical AK, but it does give you much better performance while using even subpar ammo like the one used by Ishapur factory or such. And it's really a very well balanced gun, and otherwise the pistol grip is also very much more comfortable than the average AKM. However, there are some caveats to this gun as well. Nothing is all hunky dory, and I want to be completely honest about you. First of and foremost, the stock leaves some things to desire. The stock is a bit more fragile than my liking, and many of the troops that I have interacted with also expressed the same concern. This is very much a gun which was thought about in a what would say by a committee, by someone who has went to extensive range sessions and I would say competition shooting and such, but not exactly someone who has been in complete combat all the time, because the gun definitely suffers from let's say range queen syndrome. The stock is rather fragile. It's a lightweight stock and it's a decent enough stock, just like the AK-74M. However, there are still problems with it, and also the safety catch sometimes for many of the uh, new guns, they remain stiff for quite some times. The guns have quite a bit of break time, you can say, before it becomes more easier to operate in the heat of battle. Then there's also the concern that how much of these optic rails are even necessary, considering that India really does not have the plan to arm every single one of its troops with a standard issue holographic or red dot or LPV or any other type of optic. So that's one part where I think that both Amethi and the Kalashnikov concerns should look at. But otherwise, the gun is decent. I mean, the trigger is very smooth and crisp. It's a very good two-stage trigger, and probably one of the best triggers I have seen from any factory built AKs. That's it. It's a smooth gun. It's a good gun. It's definitely a huge improvement over the AK, the INSAS, and it is something that I personally believe the Russians should have chosen over their current iteration of the AK-12, which suffers from some serious issues. That's it for everyone. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.